Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tech Tutorials 2K21. So, the Day 3 live session on key master classes. So, today our topic is how to manage input and output devices in C programming language. When you return a program for a particular purpose, there we need to take some information and we need to processing on that. And again, we can see the same thing as an output on some monitor or the output devices. So for that purpose in C programming language, we need to learn different types of input and output statements which supported for reading and writing the data from the keyboard and display on monitor. So I'll start today's session. So today most probably we'll go with practical session. So after discussing of what are the different types of input output statements in C, we'll go through with the different examples how we can use printf and scanf statements. And last two sessions I explained already about the basic concepts used in C programming language. So we'll try to write some programs on those topics in today's session. So the topic is input and output functions. So C language, it provides us console input and output functions. So as the name, this is like the console input and output functions. It allows us to perform read and write operations. So we can read the input from the keyboard. So by the user, so they are accessed this console, and we are trying to display the output to the user at the console itself. That is of our monitor. So there are two kinds of console input output functions that are supported in C programming language. So one is formatted input output functions and the second one is unformatted input output functions. So these formatted input output functions are available in a header file stdio.h, so which is said to be standard input and output header files. Whereas the unformatted input output functions are available in conio.h, that is console input and output header files. So now formatted input output functions. So as a name itself, it says for taking input and showing some output on monitor. So we have to follow some format. So we must follow that format and we can write the input and output statements in our programming language. So these formatted input output statements which allows us the user to take one or more input from the keyboard, and it allows us to display more than one output on the monitor itself. So there are two formatted functions is there. So that is scanf for reading purpose and printf is for writing purpose. So the scanf function allows us to read one or more multiple values entered by the user through the keyboard. Whereas the printf statement or the printf function is used to print or display one or more values and output to the user at the console. So both the scanf and printf functions use a specific format specifiers to display a specific values. So what your format specifiers will say is, so whenever you want to take some input from the keyboard, or else whenever you want to display some data on monitor, so we have to inform to the compiler like what type of data we are going to take, and then what type of data we are going to print on monitor. And that can be provided by your format specifiers. So we have different types of format specifiers are available. So these are format specifiers. So those are some symbols and that used as a placeholders in formatting string. So I will give you syntax for printf and scanf a little bit later. So we'll see about this format specifiers first before we are going to see the syntax of printf and scanf. So format specifiers is a symbols which tells the compiler like what type of data we are going to read and write. So we have different data types as we discussed in yesterday's class. Like we have primitive data types, from that we have derived and user defined data types. So whatever the data types it will be. So every data type is specified with some format specifier. Suppose for example for integer, so we can use a format specifier %d. For unsigned integer, we can use a format specifier %u. For floating point, it is %f. For character, %c. For string, %s. For double, %ld or lf. So lf is going to be used with a long double. So these are some format specifiers we can use at the place of the format specifiers in a printf and scanf statement. So we'll move to the syntax of printf statement. So this is a basic format for printf statement. So your printf statement will consist in two parts. So the first part is a set of your format specifiers or the format strings. And the second part will consist in the list of variables or expressions. So we already seen like format specifiers is nothing but this symbols like %d, %u and %c and all these things, which is used to specify what type of data we have to read or write. So for printf we have to write that because this is an output function. And the list of expressions or the variables is separated with commas. Suppose for example we want to display multiple values on monitor. So we can take that list of variables on this second part. So now we have to separate each and every variable or expression with commas. So this is of printf statement and we can use this printf statement for simply printing a string itself. So for that we don't need to provide any format specifiers there. So we can take a syntax like this format, like it's having. So printf is a function we have to write in a small letters. So here we have to provide the string whatever you want to display on your screen. So here is a string. So I simply enclose within a double quotation so that I can print whatever I want to display on my monitor. So simply whenever we want to display some string, we need not to provide any format specifiers for that. So we can enclose the statements within a double quotation that is required. And these are two different ways how you are going to display output on monitor. This is for output function in formatted. And coming to our input formatted statement, we can use a scanf function, so which is also available in your std.algo.h header file. So by this function, we can read the data from the keyboard because it is a standard device to take an input. So we can use the scanf function, and the basic syntax for using scanf function is, so it is also having two parts, like the first part will consist in the format string or format specifiers set of. And the second part will consisting list of the variable addresses. So this is a simple difference between the printf and scanf statement, because in scanf statement we have to provide the information to the compiler about two things. The first thing is what type of data we are going to take from the keyboard, and then in which place we have to insert that data. So we have to provide these two informations to the compiler for reading an information from the keyboard. So because of that, we have to use this parts like a format string. It's similar to what we discussed just before. Depends on a data type, we can use the format specifier. And the list of variables, so that we can use an ampersand symbol. And that ampersand symbol will give you the address of that particular variable. So now the compiler will take that address and it will place the value inside into that particular variable. So these are the formatted input and output statement for doing reading and writing operations. And these two functions are available in stdio.h header file. And by using this formatted input and output statement, we can read or write multiple values from the keyboard, and we can display multiple values on the monitor. So I'll give you a simple examples how we are going to use this printf and scanf statements in C programming language. So I'll start a new project. So I just use console application and my project is C project. So here I provided sample is my program name. No need to give an extension because I created on the C project itself. So I'm going to write all these programs in dev C++. This is an IDE which I'm going to use to explain all your C programs. So here I'm going to demonstrate how you're going to use the printf and scanf statements for reading and writing operations in C programming language. So we'll start with the first simple format, like we are going to print a simple statements. So here we have to use printf. Like I want to print some string on my screen. Suppose for example I want to print like welcome to tech tutorials live day 3 session. So this is a string which I want to display on my monitor. So simply I can give like this. So I'll start with a simple example, then I extended this printf statement so that you can understand better. I just run and execute, means compile and run this program. So this is executed successfully, and now you can find out here welcome to tech tutorials live day 3 session. So this is a string I am going to display on my monitor. In C it is also possible to display multiple statements on your screen. So simply like here I am going to give like myself baby. So this is the second string I am going to display on my monitor, and remember always each and every line of your C code it must ends with semicolon. So myself baby, I just want to print the second statement on my screen. Now you can observe the output. So I just compile and run this program, and you can see there is no space between these two statements, and they are combinedly side by side. The two printf statements are available. And this is difficult to understand whenever we have a multiple printf statements we are trying to display on your monitor. So we need a special characters which will give you a very good formatting at output screen. So we have a different special symbols like special characters like backslash n for new line, backslash v for giving a horizontal tab, and backslash v for giving a vertical tab. So I'll try to use all these things. So here I'm provided backslash n, which will give me like the second statement is going to be printed on my second line. So I just compile and run the same program, and now you can see the change. So here you can observe that the first printf statement is available in my first line, and the second printf statement is available in second line because of this \n which I provided in my first statement. Suppose if I interested to take these two statements side by side, and I want to give some space between these two strings, simply I can use \t, which is a horizontal tab. So I just compile and run. Now you can see the output. See here, this is my first statement and this is my second statement. So two statements available in a single line, but I have some space between these two statements. So this is a simple printf statement. So now the second type is your printf statement will consist in two parts like a format specifiers, and we have a variables we have to display on monitors after processing some operations on that. So for that I'm going to explain you a simple program for reading the data and writing the output on monitor. So here I'm trying to add two numbers. So simply I can take two variables for that, and I will take my data type is integer because I want to read two integer values. So I'll take my variable names are A and B, and after adding these two variables I need to save the result so that I can take one more variable name with sum. So all these are of type integers. So later I'm trying to take the input from the keyboard, that is my aim here. So now I'm using simply the printf statement here, and I prompt the user, please enter values for A and B. So here it is a small prompting, values for A and B. So this is a simple statement. I just want to display on my monitor. And then I'm going to write my scanf statement. So here I want to read two integer values. So I need two format specifiers. So percentile D is a format specifier for integer. So I need to take 2 so that I can use 2 percentile Ds. So need not to provide any commas between these percentile Ds. You have to combine, right? And this is set of your formatted specifiers. And then you can separate because I need to include the second part. So in scanf statement, the second part will consist in list of variable addresses. So here I have two variables A and B. I want to provide address for this. I can use an ampersand symbol, and my variable name is A, and my second variable name is B because I want to take values for these two. So simply I can give semicolon here. So ampersand A comma ampersand B. So I'm trying to read these two values from the keyboard. So then now I want to do my operation. So sum equals to A plus B because in previous step I already take the values of A and B from the keyboard. So simply I am doing this addition operation, and later I am going to print the output on screen. So for that I can use my second format. So here sum is of type integer. I want to return an integer value on monitor. Simply I can use percentile D again. So here I want to display only one value. I can use only one format specifier. Then here I need to provide the variable name. So that is from where we have to display our output. So printf percentile D sum. So everything is finished. So I read A and B value from the keyboard by using the scanf statement, and after that I am performing summing operation, and after that I just display the output on my screen. I just run this program. So it will ask you please enter values for A and B. So I will provide A value is 15 and B value is 56. So we know that 15 and 56 is added. Now we get the answer is 71. So here the output is 71. So this is one way we are going to use the printf statement. Suppose if you want to give some string with format specifiers, that is also possible with. So whatever you are given a string, that is going to be displayed before your output. So we just add that string here. So I just compile and run this program so that you can identify the changes. So here I am going to give another values like 89 and 40. So now it will give me like sum equals to 103. So this is a simple program how you are going to perform reading and writing operations. So you can extend this program, like suppose if you want to do all your arithmetic operations. So we have 5 arithmetic operations like sum, and then subtraction, and then multiplication, and then division and modulus. So here I'll extend it with one more 4 variables because I need to say the result of subtraction, multiplication, division and modulus operation. So I can take the same input. So whatever the values is given by the keyboard, I can take the same input and I can do all my operations. So here I can write sub equals to a minus b, and then multiplication equals to a star b. So because we know the asterisk symbol is used for doing a multiplication operation, and I can use a divide b for division operation, and I can use mod, means a mod b for modulus operation. So I already explained like the difference between division and modulus is division will give you the result from the coefficient, whereas the modulus operation will give the result from the modulus operator. I mean, like it give a result from the resultant. That is a reminder is your answer. So without giving your printf statement, even the operations are performed, it doesn't display the output. So what we have to do, we have to extend this printf statement 5 times. One is for summing and another is for subtraction, and next statement is for multiplication, next statement is for division, and next statement is for modulus. So I will make the changes. So here I need to take a value from sub and I need to retrieve value from sub variable. So here you can give any string, but here we have to give only the variable names. So here I want to take a product. So here I can give like product, and here my answer I'll get from mul because mul is a variable can hold the multiplication of these two. And then here I will provide like division. So for division, so I'll take a value from div and then modulus. So for this modulus, I'll take a value from mod. So now you're finding that everything is on integer values. Because of that, I'm using percentile D's only here. So I just compile and run this program. So it will ask me for A and B values. So I will give a values like 10 and 5. And I'll just click on enter. And now you see sum is 50, sub is 5, product is 50, division is 2 and modulus is 0. So I already said we have to use a special characters to formatting your output screen. So here we can see, suppose for example if I want to see the outputs on next lines, I can give backslash n. So I can provide it like this, backslash n. So we have to give before double slash, double quotation. So like this. So I just compile and run this program, and I'll change another values like 30 and 6. So now you can see the output. Like sum is 36, subtraction is 24, product is 180, division is 5 and modulus. So because when you divide 30 with 6, so we get your remainder as 0. So this is a way how you are going to use printf and scanf statement. And now I'm trying to take a multiple type of data. So how you are going to use? So I just change my program. So for that I just delete these things. So here again I am trying to write another program. Suppose see for example, if I want to perform some area of a circle. So or else if I need to perform some area of a square or rectangle, whatever it will be. So simply I can use a multiple data. Like I can take integer length and width is in floating point. So width. So I'll take width in floating point. And then I want to calculate the area of a rectangle. The formula is length and breadth. So when I multiplied integer with floating point, obviously I got my result as float. So that I will take another variable to keep this result. And my variable name is area. So now it's time for asking the user for length and breadth of a rectangle. So here I'll provide a statement like please enter. You can write the statement that can understand by the user for provide an input here. So please enter length and width of rectangle. So whatever the statement you have provided here, it doesn't check anything. It will display on your monitor. Only it will do that. So now you can provide semicolon. So if you miss semicolon, it will give you the error. So you have to rectify and then run your program. So here I need to write the scanf statement for reading one integer and one floating point value. So here I need to provide the list of format specifiers. So simply I can use percentile %d for integer and a second type is floating point so that I can use percentile %f. So now I'll separate it and I'll provide the address of my variables length and width. So for that I'm using an ampersand symbol. So len is for length and wid is for width. So I'll put semicolon here. So I'll provide a address of both variables length and width. So now your keyboard is ready to access one integer and floating point value. So after you getting your input, so you have to perform an area of a rectangle. So now area equals to length multiplied with width. So semicolon. So you have your result in variable area. So now you're going to display that. Simply we can use a printf statement and here I want to display like the area of a rectangle is, suppose I'm going to display like this, and the rectangle area, it is a floating point, so I can give like this percentile %f. So floating point will give you six values after decimal places. I will show you after this how you are going to uh, use the things to modify the displaying format. So here I need to provide the variable name from where I need to get my output. So from area variable I need to get my output. So here I provided area. So now what your compiler will do, it will take the string and it will concatenate your floating point value which is taken from a variable area. So everything is completed. I just compile and run this program. So now it will ask me like please enter a length and width of a rectangle. So I will provide length as 12 and width as 5.6. So now it will display like the area of a rectangle is 67.199997. So I already informed like so your floating point data type will return you after decimal places 6 values. So if you want to, if don't want to take the entire, you want to round off with some figure. So you can use like this. So before this f, you can provide it how many number of values you are going to take from the decimal place. So for that you can provide 0 point. Suppose if I want to see only 2 values after decimal places, I can provide 0.2 as my format specifier. So we can also use your format specifiers along with the width. So we will discuss about all these concepts later. So we have the themes. So there we are going to discuss. So here for this, I will explain you. So for compile and run this program, so I will provide another value. So this is an advantage when you are trying to take input from the keyboard. So I already explained in your previous classes like how you're going to initialize the variables. So like we have two ways, compile time and run time. So at compile time, you can initialize values in program itself. So any number of times you can execute your program, it will give you the same output because it always take the same input. So whereas the scanf statement, whenever you execute your program, every time it will ask you the new values. You can change the value and you can check your output. So that is the difference between the compile time initialization and runtime initialization. So here I provided my width is 2.3. So now you can see the output, the area of a rectangle is 103.50. So after decimal places I have only 2 digits. So this is possible by using this format specifier. So this is about how you are going to use a printf and scanf statements. So I hope you all can understand how to read and write. So we'll move on to the second type of input output statements, that is a unformatted input output statements. So as like the name says, so the unformatted input output statements, it doesn't having any format like this printf and scanf statements. So those are unformatted statements. See, unformatted console input output functions are used to read a single input from the user at console, and it also allows us to display the value to the output to the user at the console. So these unformatted input output statements is also used for performing the reading and writing operation, but these functions, it doesn't allow you to take a multiple values from the keyboard or to display multiple values on the monitor. So every time we can do with a single value. And most probably, these unformatted input-output functions are used along with the characters or the strings. So we cannot use these statements for taking on numerical values. So that is also one of the things we have to remember with unformatted input and output functions. So now, the unformatted input-output functions, it doesn't having any format. Simply we have a function, and these unformatted functions, the functionalities are implemented in a conio.h. So whenever we want to use any one of these functions like putchar, getchar, putc, getc, puts, getas, all these functions. So we have to include conio.h header file in program itself. So now these are the functions available in your unformatted input output functions, and get function is used for reading and put function is used for writing. So there will be a small differences between all these functions. I'll explain you this. So getch is a function. It reads a single character from the user at the console without echoing it. Echoing it means, for example, if your main function it doesn't having any return type, it's simply a void type. So you are finding that getch will be the last statement in your program. So what your getch will do is, it will take any key which you are pressed from the keyboard, and it will read that key, that may be of a character or your enter key, whatever it will be, and it will redirect you to your programming console again. So that's what the getch function will do, but it doesn't echo you like which character you press to get back to your program itself. So that is of getch. So getch and getche both are working for the same, but coming to this getche, it will echo the character. Like it will read a single character from the user and it will echo. So whatever the character you pressed to get back to your program, before it redirecting you to your program, it will display the character. And getchar is also similar, like getchar. So the difference between getch, getchar is, so it is also read a single character from the user from the keyboard and echoing it, but it needs an enter key to be pressed at the end. So whereas for getch and getche, you can use any of the character on your keyboard. Like you can press any of the character from your keyboard. It will redirect you. So whereas for getchar, we must enter a key that is of your enter key. So whereas get is an input function which is used to read the string. So it will take a string which is entered by the user. And then we have the other functions for reading. So those are putch, putch and putchar. So putch is a function which will display a single string value at the console, that is of your monitor. And this putch is also a function for displaying a character value at a console, and getchar is also used for displaying a character at the console itself. So for displaying a character, you can use any one of this. So putc also you can use, or else you can take a putchar and all these things. So these are unformatted input output functions. So that is available in C programming language. So the differences between formatted and unformatted input output statements are, for formatted input output statements, we have a specific format. So we have to use that format and we can read multiple values, or else we can display the multiple values at a time from the keyboard, or we can display on the monitor. So whereas unformatted input output statements, they didn't have any format. So we can simply use the functions and we can display or we can read only one character or a string from the keyboard or onto the monitor. So this is a differences between formatted and unformatted statements. So depends on our requirement. Suppose in our program we are working with only the characters or only with the strings. So we can simply read. So then we can use this unformatted input output statement. But most of the people are interested to use a formatted input and output, because we can read multiple things at a time and we can write a multiple things at a time on your monitor itself. So here we have to do in each and every line. So means the number of times we want to read and number of times we want to display by using this unformatted input and output statements. And the other difference is, like you can use your formatted input output statements. It is possibility of that we can work with all type of information, like we can take numerical values of different types like decimals, floating point, double, or some integers, whatever it will be, and we can also work with characters, strings and everything. So whereas your unformatted input output statement, they won't work with the numerical values, they only work with the characters and strings. So these are the main differences between formatted and unformatted input outputs. So I'll try to give you a simple example for this unformatted input output statement. So here we need to include one more statement like conio.h, because I already said like your conio.h header file will consisting all the functions like putc, getc and all these things. The functionalities are implemented here. So I just write a single program here. Suppose see, if I want to take a character. So I want to take a character, so I can use my data type as char and my variable name is some gender. So this is my variable name. So I want to take my gender with a single character like female or male with F or M. So for that, so then I want to read this. So I can use gender is equals to. So now I can get a character. So I can use getC function here. So it will get the character and display. It will put in my variable gender, and after that I'm trying to display this. So simply I can use my putc function. So putc. So here I need to provide like from gender I need to retrieve the value so that I can pass my variable name here. So putc semicolon. So this is the way how you're going to use. I just execute, compile and run this program. Mm, so my main function is not able to take this. Too few arguments functions in getc. Okay. Okay. So I'll give like this gender is equals to get care of. Okay. And I can use here putchar. Okay. So by this compiler it doesn't allow me like putc and getc. So that compatibility is not with this. So for that, instead of putc and getc, I just given as putchar and getchar. So here it will ask me like the character. So I will provide female. So it will display the female. So now you can see, you cannot understand when you see this output. So the programmer who returned the program and they can only understand, the other person may or may not be understand this. So for that the reasons, most probably the people are very much of interested to use the formatted input output statements for reading and writing purpose. So you can include the combination of both formatted and unformatted input output statement in your program. Suppose see, for better understanding you can give your printf statement here like printf. So I'm asking that enter a gender so that user can somewhat understand. So gender, so some they will ask you the gender of something by a single character. I can specify. So then before I'm displaying the output, I can include one more printf statement. I just simply added a string only. So the gender is. So it doesn't take any format specifiers and everything. So just we adding some strings for better understanding. So I just run this program. I just compile and run this program. And now you can see it will ask me like enter a gender by a single character. So I will enter now for male. So now it will show me like the gender. Okay. So the printer statement is not accepted. It doesn't read the next thing because. So these are some problems with this formatted input and formatted unformatted statements when we combine. So we need to flush the things. So here the gender I will provide as male, and now you can see where is output man. Oh no, it doesn't allow me. So now you can see. So see, it doesn't allow me right for making a combination of both formatted and unformatted. So simply we have to do like this. Or else I think we can print like this. I just verify it. Put care of. Suppose I can provide like this gender and it treated as a string and it is going to be displayed. I just verify it. So it will ask me. I will provide like gender as female. Oh no. Okay, fine. So this is about unformatted input output statements, and we can read the string also. For reading the string, we cannot have any keyword like string, so simply we can use the character array. So for that we can use char name of, suppose for example if I provided some size is 10. So we'll discuss in brief about what do you mean by string and everything here, but for taking string we have to use a character array like this. So for this we have to use getS. So getS is a function. So now it is provided like I want to read a string, and then putS is a function which is going to display your string. So here the variable name is name itself. So I think it's work. Yes. So suppose if I'm given like Chokapula Devi. So it will printed me like Chokapula Devi. So this is one of the advantage of using the strings concept, instead of scanf statement, because the scanf statement it doesn't allow you the spaces between the strings. So it will treat, when you give a space, it will treat it as a two strings, it is not a single string. So whereas for your getS and putS, it will take actually. Thank you. I hope you all can understand that today's topic. So tomorrow I'm going to explain the concept of control structures, which is very important topic. And from that, as of now you get some knowledge how you can write a basic programming, how to declare and how to read and write. So that's what the knowledge you can gain by these 3 days of live sessions.